Hello everyone, and welcome to game number 1 in this best of 3 in our round of 8 of the second Offworld Trading Company tournament featuring Indecision and Gameslayer. Not a whole lot of resources available at the start of this one. We're just seeing some few sparse patches, so this looks like it isn't going to be a kind map to our players, and they're going to have to put some thought into exactly where they want to found to make sure they don't end up in too bad a start right at the beginning of this game.
Hey, forgot me? No!
Well,
okay.
You know, we could do some intros of casters as well, I guess, but...
I guess.
Look,
not that
the
important.
players are who matter.
Yeah, exactly. So, by the way, SMG talking here. I need to, you need to say, like, they're both, scouting in the opposite directions, and if you look, check out both players, they don't really have much to work with. Like, they only have just a little bit carbon, iron, not that much aluminum, but overall, like, it's not really a water-filled map, you could say. So,
yeah,
I mean, Gameslayer right now, fanning actually has a scavenger, and indecision as scientific. I just want to say, I think scientific isn't really the right way to go here, because there's no water.
Yeah, the adjacency bonuses look like they're going to be really difficult to pick up this game, and I think you're right that maybe in this exact spot I would have leaned expansive rather than scientific.
Yeah, it's always about the expansive type. So both players are going to go take their aluminum. Both get a high aluminum, which is nice.
Yeah, I think people are just worried about their aluminum this game, which is a bit odd because for Indecision, right? Because he could have just gotten a different high aluminum if Gameslayer had taken that one. He didn't get to the single best aluminum on the map in the first place. Usually from these scientific players, we'll see 3 steel mills right at the start, but Indecision instead goes for 2 iron metal mines and an aluminum metal mine. And I'm just really curious to see exactly what he's going to transition through with that for the rest of this game.
I mean, Gameslayer right now, I think he just has game advantage overall because he is scavenger for someone who's already level 2. I just need to go back to that water. Like, this is horrible for Indecision.
Yeah.
Like, it's, I don't know. Not really
he
feeling
can
it right
use
now.
the tiles, right? He can get a nice diamond set up in one of the spots and only have to pay water for one of the tiles. It's usable, but it is still a bit of a strange decision in a lot of ways because you're not really getting to use that primary scientific bonus as much. Now, that said, the advantage of being scientific here is when he founded scientific, he already knew that Gameslayer had gone scavenger, and so he will be quite resistant to that black market bonus.
So, Gameslayer right now, I have to say 24,000 for one claim is a little bit overpaid in day 1.
Really,
normally
you think so?
Yeah, normally for me the rule is like 18 to 20,000, and 24,000 is like already you already paid 4,000 too much. But it's early game, so I think you should bounce back fairly easily.
See, I'm to the point these days where I will go as high as 32,000 for an early claim.
Wow.
Just because I don't know if it's truly worth it, but most of the time, if you're not dying, if you can manage to watch for when your opponent has shifted from upgrading and expanding into making money, and you just kind of slightly beat them to that punch, you've got the extra claim to work with, and it can give you enough of a bonus, I think, that it can be worth quite a lot, but it is certainly a risky move to push that anywhere beyond somewhere in the vicinity of 16 to 20,000.
Yeah. It's also about how good of a player you are, because if let's say non-experienced player takes on this debt and then pretty much just crashes. For sure. Then, as we can see, like Gameslayer, like he's already starting to bounce back. He's already starting to even out. As actually Indecision is going to go ahead, actually claim some reactors, the 2 water tiles, 2 silicon tiles. Do you think he's going to go? Yeah, he's going to go straight away for glass.
Straight into glass here. Bit of a risky play. Glass can be a high-risk play against a scavenger player in particular on this patch. As we might know, in the next patch, mutinies are getting tweaked a little bit, I believe, where they do not steal the resources that are already in the building. However, this very early glass play, on very low amounts of production, if Gameslayer is on top of this, he may be able to steal the first 120 glass away from Indecision, which means these 2 tiles would have been a complete waste for a significant period of time this game. But we're just going to have to see if Indecision can counterplay by maybe sending a little earlier, if Gameslayer notices at all and goes for that kind of steal. But still, a high-risk play out of Indecision right now, moving into glass so early.
Well, the problem is the glass price isn't that high yet.
Yeah, that's the other detail.
Like, it's not that high, so it's definitely more than risky to even go into glass at this point.
Now, that said, by the time this glass actually gets to the point of shipping, glass will have risen a little bit. I imagine we can see Gameslayer is already pushing to the glass he's going to need for HQ level 4. Indecision might as also push to the glass he needs for HQ level 2. Or if he doesn't want to sell glass at all, this could make for a very easy transition into farms once he hits HQ level 3.
So right now, the claim auction going down. I mean, it's day 2. What do you feel like, the auction should go for? Since you said, the first one's maybe 32,000.
The second one usually goes a bit cheaper than the first in a lot of 1v1s because the initial guy, he now has a lot of debt, right? Like Gameslayer's already sitting on 42,000 debt. Usually that person's a little bit scared to push this one too high. We can even see some hesitation out of Gameslayer right now just to push it to even 12. I think Indecision should just drive this insanely high realistically and see how far Gameslayer is willing to push. Once again, I'd say this 24 to 28,000 would not be unreasonable for this claim.
We see the 24,000 coming right now from Indecision.
Yep.
Ooh, actually gets it. So both players right now have about the same amount of debt, which is, nice to see. So they're pretty much on an even playing field right now. Gameslayer is going to go actually into glass.
Yeah.
This is also kind of what you meant also, that it's kind of risky, first of all, because of the price. And second of all, Gameslayer going into glass right now, he might have spam sell it. So it's not really worth anything when Indecision gets his glass. But Indecision, smart enough, he's going to send his glass right away. He's probably going to sell it right away before Gameslayer can bring the glass price down like quite a bit.
Exactly. Indecision making the appropriate move for sure when Gameslayer throws down glass. Goes ahead and gets the send. But once again, these two tiles just aren't worth a whole lot right now. Even if he was getting the full value of the glass at the moment, it's still only a net revenue of $10 a second right now on these glass furnaces. And I'm definitely a little bit concerned about that. I mean, I almost would have... Yeah, power shortage is pretty important. You're right.
Indecision, he already has 3 solar panels up. Gameslayer doesn't have anything, so Indecision really might pull back out of his debt.
Yeah,
it's 60,000 debt, but
one good thing for Gameslayer, though, is he really isn't consuming all that much power because he doesn't have anything active right now. Now, that said, obviously we want to have things turned on in order to make money, but at least the shortage didn't immediately start driving him into insane amounts of debt. Now, I am very concerned that his first move out of the shortage was to go ahead and throw down farms, and he still hasn't made any move whatsoever to get into power. And if he lets that run for too long and lets Indecision potentially even make money out of this power shortage off of these solar panels, he's going to be in for a world of hurt. But finally, we see wind turbines coming down. Gameslayer is going to be just fine.
I think it's a little bit too late.
But it is a little late.
Just a little bit too late. Indecision, like, he already paid off half of his debt. He's actually starting to get the water now. The diamond you were talking about earlier. That's nice to see. Ooh, the power surge going down onto Indecision's solar panels. Would you actually like to see a patent lab going down right now for Indecision, maybe to get slant drilling? Because slant drilling right now would really change the game for him.
Maybe at some point, but HQ level 3 is a little early to push for it. He does have one spare claim sitting around, and that would definitely be an option for how to use it. Typically for advanced buildings in a 1v1, you wait till HQ level 4 from what I've seen, but he might be able to make it work. What I really wanted to see out of Indecision right now, honestly, is he got power surged. He may as well just return the favor and make sure to shut down Gameslayer's power as well to make sure that he takes that advantage he committed so hard into.
So right now, Karma Scrubbing going down. I think Indecision, this is very valuable for him for in a later stage of the game. Definitely. And also, talking about advanced buildings, he's making a hacker rate right now. Do you think what is going to actually going to hack? Like, there's not enough production for pretty much anything.
Yeah, that's kind of the concern. He can't really hack power because his opponent's in it now. He can't really hack glass because he doesn't have all that much of it. I mean, he can. He's just not going to get a huge benefit out of it. The thing that he's making the most of is food, but unfortunately his opponent is into it stronger than he is. And like I was saying, I just don't think he has the production on HQ level 3 to support this. I think you need to push to HQ level 4 or find some true kind of weird situation where you have a lot of any particular resource in order to get an advantage.
Yep. Karma Scrum just went down for 24,000 for Indecision, so I think later in the game He's going to have it a lot better. And a natural shortage for food coming down. Gameslayer is pretty happy about this.
Oh, yeah.
Since he has 300 in stockpile.
Yeah, Gameslayer saw that
doesn't
coming.
Even have food.
And he committed into it completely. You're exactly right. Yeah, and also Indecision not managing to ship over any food for a long time. Just barely going to get some kind of benefit out of this shortage. But Gameslayer getting the biggest effect out of it, and he's immediately going to press into Indecision before his power manages to pay off his debt any further after that carbon scrubbing acquisition.
So Indecision right now got the hacker rate. He's actually shorting power. I don't think he has enough power to make something happen here, and also Gameslayer has the wind turbines up. So is power really the right call? That is the question now. And also, the hacker rate gets mutinied right away.
Exactly.
Very good play out of Gameslayer.
I just think that we're not seeing necessarily appropriate maneuvers from from Indecision in order to make this move work. Obviously, he got mutinied. That's always a risk when you're up against a scavenger player. You almost certainly need to have that goon squad at least purchased so that maybe your opponent doesn't hit a mutiny onto your hacker array. And he also, I think this entire time, if he was going to commit to a power shortage, then he almost certainly would have needed to shut down his opponent's power rather than shutting down their food. Maybe by shutting down food, he could have moved into a food shortage quite effectively if he knew about it and he managed to keep it locked down for an extended period off of this cheap early game black market. But instead, he's going for the power. He's not making many moves against it. Power's already down to $77. Finally, the power surge comes down. But I feel like it's going to be too little too late, especially after this mutiny, as Indecision isn't going to actually get this energy short off for quite some time still.
The problem is, when the hacker is finished with the shortage from the energy shortage, it's already going to be night, and he has solar panels. So that's not really going to work out too well for him. He did power surge the wind turbines from Gameslayer, but that's only, going to hold on probably till morning again. Is it?
Yeah, we'll have to see exactly how it all pans out, but still, energy already down to $70. Indecision's not making any money out of the short anytime soon with $45,000 of debt acquired, in particular from having to push so hard on carbon scrubbing. We haven't seen any benefit come out of that yet, and I'm just very concerned how all of these pieces fit together for Indecision. Individually, they seem like strong moves, but they don't really put together a whole solution to this puzzle that is Gameslayer right now.
Gameslayer right now winning the auction for the geothermal. I'm actually surprised that nobody's using this double geothermal all the way on the bottom. Usually see in a 1 versus 1 that people actually want geothermals instead of wind turbines or solar panels because it's just one tile that makes a lot of power. And it's just the value of just that one tile that you pretty much need. Indecision right now, actually going to go into chemicals. He's going to use that carbon scrubbing finally.
Yeah, that's good. He got to HQ level 4.
That's actually something to short later on.
Yeah, he needs some benefit out of it. A little bit odd to put down just one lab, as it will be losing money, it looks like, for the duration. Chemicals on Beta 2 still consuming their full 1 fuel at the moment. So this Chem Lab came down and immediately started burning Indecision's money away. We're going to need to see some adjacency bonuses along with it to truly get any good benefit.
The power surge, the power shortage is actually really helping Indecision right now, as making about 1.4K in power. While Gameslayer right now is only building solar panels. That's the thing. Who's going to get the shorter end of the stick right now? Like Indecision right now is EMP'd, but he doesn't really have the money to like strike back. Oh, there he goes. The power surge going down onto Gameslayer. So both players are not really going to make a lot of money on his power shortage.
Gameslayer is still generating 4 power right now. He got that geotherm in particular that's just sitting there working away in the corner. So Gameslayer, I think, still managing to take the advantage off of Indecision's power short, because Indecision just maybe didn't commit hard enough into it to really make it work for him this game. And we actually, wow, immediately an energy surplus coming out of Indecision afterward. That's interesting. Trying to make his opponent transition into power and then trying to punish him for that transition afterward. That's very interesting, but I wonder how much it's going to hurt Indecision as well.
There's so many surpluses and shortages going on right now.
I know, hacker race from both players.
Yeah, in a 1 versus 1, that's not very normal.
Well, a lot of players, a lot of high-level players will value that hacker array as one of the primary 2 ways to clean up a 1v1 in this particular patch especially. So it doesn't surprise me too much that both of them would be doing that. I think they both also enjoy playing with the hacker array, can get some nice things done with it. So maybe a bit odd for a lot of players, but these two, no surprise to me whatsoever.
So geothermal auction right now. Since power is down, I think more than 12,000 is a little bit way too much. Like even 10,000 right now is not even worth it.
That's one way to look at it, but an alternative is, if you manage to take this and maybe just spend one more claim to get the adjacency with it, you can scrap all the rest of your power, and especially if you're indecision, that could have been a great boon this game. This idea of, okay, well I just have 6 power sitting off on that corner on its own, all the rest of my power is already adjacent to my base, I can just transition all of that very easily. So for Gameslayer, maybe only worth about 10,000 because he has so many wind turbines already established, a geotherm elsewhere on the map, he can't move any of those tiles around easily. But for indecision, I think he could have pushed hard into that and then gotten a late game advantage out of it as long as he managed to hold on long enough to get that true benefit.
Gameslayer right now is actually going to move into an Offworld. It's day 6, and indecision, I don't have a feeling that he can't really do anything against this. It's going to take some time till he gets some money to even utilize a black market, and Gameslayer already has Goon Squad on there, so indecision right now, I think he doesn't know yet, but if so, he just needs some money to get a lot of dynamites. That's all I need to say.
Yeah, another important thing is that is the very first Goon Squad either player has actually used this game, is on top of that Offworld. So Goon Squads, that thing is going to be protected for an eternity if Gameslayer just keeps purchasing those, even if Indecision tries to go ahead and blast through them. There's no way he's going to be able to knock that Offworld down, and suddenly Indecision's in a lot of trouble, with Gameslayer only needing to push through 4 of his stocks in order to finish this one up.
So the chemical shortage right now is going to go down for indecision. Gameslayer, he's going to send off some fuel. You need to say like the water is starting to shoot up quite a bit. Who's actually using that much water? Is it Gameslayer?
Well, Gameslayer, it would be the one consuming water out of the group of them. I believe he never established too much. We've also seen a nuke go down onto some of his water in response to the price getting so high. So he's only generating 2 a second, and he is definitely eating a fair amount with these reactors, but I think it's mostly because neither player has collected a whole lot of water in these late stages of the game, and it's just naturally kind of grown in price. There may have even been a shortage go down to drive it up to that point.
Indecision right now, making a lot of money onto the shortage. Gameslayer, he's flashing up at 66% on Indecision's tab. Already going to go at 200%.
And a jump to 94 with that Offworld send. That's insane.
The Offworld, definitely something to look out on. But Gameslayer decides, you know what, I'm just going to buy myself. I'm going to play safe. Since he has this Offworld, he's just, you know, probably just going to hang back, ship off, and then wait until close the game.
Yep. Gameslayer very concerned over the fact that Indecision had managed to build up a really strong supply of funds off of solid use of his hacker array, strong use of his tiles, just all kinds of water flying in, all kinds of fuel and oxygen coming in, making great money for him. So Gameslayer, I think, making the right call and going ahead and saying, fine, I have an Offworld established, I've got the late game at this point, you're going to have so much trouble pressing through it, I just need to make sure you can't kill me off and I'll be good to go.
So right now, a auction shortage actually coming in. Reactors are so valuable right now, but water is still, it's almost at 200. This is a 1 versus 1. I know, I can understand there's not much water in this map, but how rarely do we see water at 200 naturally?
Not very common at all. Especially, we can see the difference right now for these electrolysis reactors for Indecision. The one that needs to be supplied with water only making about $50 a second. The ones that don't, 250 or so. It's pretty crazy, the price of water at the moment.
So, as we can see right now, Gameslayer is just still going to utilize the Offworld. Do you believe if he doesn't have enough fuel, he's just going to buy it in, even though it costs so much?
Well, I mean, he doesn't absolutely have to send fuel. I guess fuel is the best thing, but oxygen's not too far behind. Both of them being as expensive as they are, I imagine he will just be purchasing fuel in order to make sure he keeps getting that most valuable send. Whoa! Big mistake out of Gameslayer. Wow. That is a big problem. Shouldn't have let that happen.
Money and 60 seconds of his life.
Oh, I know.
Even though he had the Goon Squad queued up, he already pre-purchased that.
He had that purchased. He had that sitting there for so long. I think he just forgot to reapply it because he had purchased it so long ago, and Indecision keeps pressing on through and manages to get a hit with Dynamite. That is a big deal at $60 carbon right now. Don't want to lose that Offworld shipment. Man.
So from Indecision, another chemical shortage coming in. Although he's not really producing chemicals right now, it's actually costing him $100 per lab to even produce chemicals. So that's just burning money right there.
Oh, for sure. Fuel's gone insane. You can't leave your chem labs online like that.
Yeah. Gameslayer right now, he's gonna go ahead and actually short carbon, which is good to see. He's gonna build a second Offworld. Was he not like at 90% to buying out Indecision?
He was, and then he built a second Offworld when pushed carbon up to $122 in the process. So yeah, he was pushing into it and just made a weird transition, and now that game's going to go on even longer and allow Indecision to try and find some way to force his way back in.
So Indecision right now, he's actually going to go back into power. It's not a bad choice, but the problem is the silicon price is extremely high. So it actually costs him over $10,000 to build one solar panel. That is insane.
Definitely. Now, Gameslayer, I believe if he sold everything at this moment, or even canceled his Offworld and sold everything, could kill off Indecision from here on through the rest of the game. He's got that 100% ready to go, but he hasn't quite spotted it yet. Maybe a bit too focused on securing everything. That shipment should clean it up, though. The red button has appeared.
Yep.
And Gameslayer is going to take game number 1.
GG, Gameslayer.
Still, though, allowing Indecision some opportunities to get back into this game. Indecision with a few missteps in trying to execute, right? Maybe burning chems for too long, even preparing for that short. Not necessarily the best idea. Moving into power at the end of the game when silicon was so expensive. Just a few issues here and there, but still rather well played to hold on for so long against a player who had constructed an Offworld, and also not giving up, going ahead and trying to destroy that Offworld. Just opening up opportunities for Gameslayer to go ahead and make a mistake, and he most certainly did in allowing his Offworld to get blown up. Gave Indecision a chance to get back in, and I believe we saw Indecision push up to as much as about 60% of what he needed to finish off Gameslayer toward the end of that game.
In the research tab, it's also, good to see that Indecision and Gameslayer almost have the same amount of power auto-sold. Even though of the shortage, but you can see Indecision actually auto-purchased 134,000 power, and Gameslayer only about 50,000.
Yeah.
So that power play did not work out for Indecision at all.
Exactly.
He spent a lot of money on that.
Power is so hard to short. Out of all the resources, power is by far the most difficult to actually take an advantage off of because you can generate no stockpile for it. And so really risky play going for an energy short as soon as you drop that building down.
Also with the shortages, you can see Indecision buying in 200k in chemicals and then actually selling 421,000. So he made a lot of profit on that. And Gameslayer with his shortages, the carbon shortage, on the end there, it didn't really help him too much, but then you also can see he purchased about 90,000 carbon. I believe that was from that Offworld.
Yeah, that's the thing about shorting carbon, right? If you're done moving buildings around, if you have nanotech, whatever, as a scavenger, it can be fine. If you're trying to push for just twisting that knife and finishing the game, it can be fine. But it's a very awkward thing to do, to short carbon and then use 600 carbon to construct an Offworld, and then short carbon again, and then use 600 more carbon to build an Offworld. It just maybe not completely thought out there. Maybe Gameslayer thought he could push for the finish a bit sooner, which I honestly think he could. I think if he hadn't built the second Offworld especially, he would have won that game a lot faster. But
yeah,
just kind of an awkward little play, but it's where he saw his advantage, so he tried to make use of it.
With the black market items, Indecision actually going passive and aggressive at the same time. He purchased 3 new claims. That is quite a bit, even though for a scientific.
Oh, definitely. 3 new claims is a lot for a 1v1 game.
And Gameslayer actually going more passive, getting 3 goon squads that he used there on the end for the Offworlds, and then just actually not having that much offensive not too many offensive items, even though I think it would have helped him a little bit more because the glass and reactors were actually connected from indecision. So I think a power surge or an EMP would actually went a long way with that.
Certainly. I think Gameslayer could have been far more aggressive with Black Market this game. He had an advantage, right? Indecision was kind of stumbling around on HQ level 3, couldn't push to HQ level 4, got himself into a lot of trouble. But game would have been a lot faster for Gameslayer to clean up, I think, if he had done more than 6 black market purchases in total that game, and only 3 of them going aggressive. No real use of strong mutinies against Indecision's separated buildings, for example. Even though those resources got quite valuable, and Indecision did not have access to teleportation. No extra claims purchased for Gameslayer, and that's certainly something you can get away with as a scavenger against a scientific. You don't really want to get overly aggressive against them, just because they do have that bonus, but that means you can just commit your black market into other areas if you need to. Gameslayer instead opting not to use the black market almost at all. Maybe not exactly what you're looking for out of a scavenger.
My last words are, I think Indecision just committed too much into chemicals. Those are my last words.
Yeah. Well, like I said in the middle of the game, I think it still holds true. It's still my opinion. Indecision with strong moves, but not strong moves that worked together in particular. Whereas Gameslayer may have actually made individually weaker plays, but had a better overall game plan to go ahead and finish it up.
Yep. I guess we should move on.